speaker, Adam Deese. Adam is a senior majoring in religious studies. He'll be graduating in May. He hopes to help expand and promote religious studies as a discipline among both primary and secondary education systems throughout the United States. And he'll be speaking to us today on two sides of the human illusion, technology and religion in Western traditions. Pay attention to me, okay? I'm sitting there, so I'm right in front of the speakers. They all come up here. I have these cards that Antoinette prepared for me. They have numbers on them. The first number is 5. Today, Mark will be speaking to us on Zionism and the transformation of Jewish identity from political movement to doctrine. Mark.
Over time, religions transform and adapt in order to maintain relevance with changing times and social, political situations. Using two complementary theories of religion as developed by Peter Berger and Meredith McGuire, I argue that Zionism illustrates the notion of the adaptation and transformation of religion. Zionism began as a secular political ideology in Europe and quickly transformed into a religious dogma which mandated the creation of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. I will describe and analyze the nature of that transformation by providing a historical context for the emergence and development of Zionism in modern Israel. Zionism was established as a political ideology created by Theodor Herzl in 1897. This ideology was created in response to well over a millennium of intense and violent anti-Semitism in Europe by the Catholic and Orthodox churches, as well after the Reformation, most of the Protestant denominations as well. Zionism was not well received by institutionalized forms of Judaism, as they believed that Zionism was blasphemous and constituted disbelief in God, and this was grounded in the doctrinal belief that only the Messiah, sent by God, could reestablish a Jewish state. Despite this, religious Jews began integrating Zionism within their sacred canopy. Berger states that every human society is an enterprise of world building. As a result of intense persecution suffered by Jews in Europe, religious Jews felt a longing to reside somewhere where they could practice their beliefs in relative peace. Zionism gave them an answer to this dilemma. In building their worldview, religious Jews internalized secular Zionism and adapted it within their worldview. In doing so, they created a theology which stated that God wanted the children of Israel to return to the Promised Land in order to establish a Jewish state in which Jews could live in accordance with the laws of the Torah. Establishment of the Jewish state, therefore, became a mitzvah, a commandment. And by incorporating Zionism under their sacred canopy, the religious Jews believed that the land of Israel, then known as Palestine, was promised to the ancient Israelites by God, and therefore the right of the Jewish people to inhabit this land and establish a Jewish state was absolute. This remodeling of Zionism from a secular ideal to a religious doctrine conceptualizes Berger's concept of religious adaptation and transformation. For almost 2,000 years, the Jewish people were dispersed throughout the nations of the world, a migratory people without a national homeland. By the 19th century, most of the European Jewish population was concentrated in countries of Eastern Europe. These Jews were subjected to persecution, and hundreds of Jewish communities were exterminated. Within the Jewish community, Jewish religious law provided their worldview and codes of behavior. It was within this framework that religious Jews transformed Zionism from a secular canopy into their sacred canopy. Religious Jews adapted the secular normals of Zionism in order to make a world for themselves. This was done through the process of externalization, objectivation, and internalization. According to Berger, externalization is the ongoing outpouring of the human being into the world both in the physical and mental activity of the people. The products of human physical and mental activity include such things as culture, the state, the family, religion, and economy. According to Berger, in building these products, humans construct a world. Society is the product of human intervention. This reality was objectified in which the Jews of Europe knew that they were strangers in the land. The society in which these Jews lived at the advent of the political ideology of Zionism was alien. They were not part of the society in which they lived and were persecuted for no other reason than being Jewish. Zionism, with its biblical roots and the divine promises made to Abraham and his descendants, began to make sense to the religious Jews of Europe. And that by including the profane or the secular within an established sacred cosmos, in turn makes it possible to reconfigure the definitional boundaries of that cosmos, in a new or innovative way, as well as in a manner that allows the individuals and or communities which operate in the blanket to construct meaningful lives and worlds. Aligning Berger's theory with Zionism, we see that the changes brought about by Zionism became functional in the lives of religious Jews in Europe. By incorporating the secular nomos, Zionism, within a religious framework. Religions have to adapt, and they have to fulfill a need. Religious Jews, by adopting Zionism as a principle, fulfilled that need and transformed Judaism. By pairing the theories of other sociologists of religion with Berger's in connection with the Zionist phenomenon, we can get a more accurate understanding of the negotiations Zionism made in its attempt to adapt to the social melody. My research on Zionism foregrounds its lived components. To that extent, I suggest that religion, as lived by its adherents, has the ability to transform religious doctrine despite structures within the existing religious institutions and hierarchies. As Durkheim pointed out, religious meanings make practical sense in a community of shared symbolic social structures. Religion is a critical part of the social system and provides meaning for life, as well as reinforcing the morals and social norms held collectively by all within a society. Meredith McGuire explains that lived religion shifts its focus from the official institutionalized version of religion to individual experiences and interpretations of that religion. The adaptation of Zionism by religious Jews, combined with the increasing secularization of Jews joining Zionist movements, compelled Rabbi Kook to form the Mizrahi movement in 1902. Rabbi Kook's stated goal was to reconcile Judaism with Zionism. And despite opposition from traditional Jewish organizations, the Mizrahi movement made inroads in creating theology which supported Zionist ideals. After the Holocaust, and more so after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Zionism became a doctrinal statement in most forms of Judaism. Zionism gave religious Jews an alternative to suffering persecution and extermination by altering their worldview to include the reestablishment of the Jewish homeland. Though antithetical to prevailing theological thought at the time, the ideal of Zionism made sense. According to McGuire's theory, religion doesn't have to make sense, it just has to work. It worked in the individual lives of religious Jews. This internalization of Zionism into Judaism's sacred canopy by the lived religion of its followers eventually led Jewish theologians to integrate Zionism into becoming a major doctrinal statement. In sum, we can see by applying these theories, we can understand the transformation of a secular ideal into a religious practice. Religions internalize secular nomos in response to ever-changing political and social realities. Religion has to be real in the world that human beings construct for themselves. This relevance requires the adaptation and transformation of religious ideals based on present circumstances in order for a religion to maintain relevance in an ever-changing world. Thank you.
very much, Mark. We have some time now to sort of think through some of the ramifications and ideas that our speakers have expressed and things that we've been thinking about, trying to get them to think about some other things together. So we have some time for questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the audience to direct their question to one or more of the speakers, and let's see what else we can learn.